Peter had a rough night on Monday. Let's talk about it. Jack Peter, just baseball show. Today is Tuesday, October 8th. Saw the Royals even up the series against the Yankees, and they go back to KC. We saw the Tigers win a crazy one against Cleveland as that one goes back to Comerica for the first postseason game in Detroit in what, a decade? Did I hear that correctly? And then we're going to preview both games in the NLDS today on the back half of the episode. I'm really excited. Peter, you're not, but will you just kind of drag your way through the MGM read right now for us?
I don't want to do the roundup.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Just tell us who the show is brought to you by, and we'll get into it.
It's brought to us by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JustBaseball. Why? You get a first bet offer up to $1,500. Hopefully you didn't use it on the Yankees because, well, actually, hopefully you did because now you get it back in bonus bets. But remember, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions apply. Yeah, I'm really excited to do this episode like 5 minutes after the Yankees just lost. Yeah, I'm in a great headspace.
So that's the thing, man. Like, if they played at 4:08 on a Monday, I think you would be really upset that they were playing at 4:08 on a Monday afternoon.
Oh,
but
no, that would be much better for my mental. Put them at like 1 in the afternoon. Get it done early. Let me actually. Then I got to sit with it. But tonight I'm not going to be able to sleep. Regardless, it's all shit,
dude. That's crazy. You're a grown man letting the New York Yankees loss in game 2. It's not an elimination game. They evened the series, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to lose sleep over this one.
So you're telling me the season isn't over?
It's not over.
Okay. All right.
It's not over.
All right. I'm kind of back right now.
If I'm not mistaken, I had Yankees in 4, and KC wins the Reagan start. I think that was what I had.
We both did say that.
Okay.
But when it happens, I still don't like it. Whatever. Like, I'm not going to be like, ooh, wow, look at my cool prediction, everybody. No, I still hate it.
So I'll take a victory lap. I decided to go with a hot take last night when we were recording during the game 2 of the Guardians Tigers preview. And I said, Aram, like, you ready for a take? Throw out a realistically high bar for Tarik Skubal. And he was like, 7 shutout, 8 shutout. It's like, whatever you throw out, I think he matches that. And here we go. He matched it. So I'll give you the rundown of this whole thing. But you know what? I'm vibing because I felt a little bit like Nostradamus after last night. And you're in a bad mood, which makes me in turn happier. So let's get after it.
Oh, great. Jack's on a high because he got a bunch of things right. My team lost. This episode's going to suck. Honestly, for anybody listening, this is not going to be entertaining. This is probably going to be our worst podcast. No need to listen anymore. I wouldn't blame you if you turned it off, honestly. Nothing entertaining from here.
I think you should stick around because I'm going to tell you about Detroit and Cleveland now. This game evened it up at a game apiece. It was a 3-0 Tigers win. Masterclass all around. I don't think you could ask for much more in a baseball game. Yeah. Tarik Skubal set down the first 13 men he saw before a Josh Naylor double with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th inning. But he got Andres Jimenez to bounce into a double play to end the 5th inning. Then a Brian Rocchio double and a Steven Kwan single had men at the corners in the 6th. Tarik Skubal rolled another double play. Then a 1-2-3 7th to cap the night. Final line on the best pitcher in baseball. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 8 Ks in 92 pitches. But the guards were matching. Matt Boyd went 4 2/3 scoreless. Then Cade Smith did Cade Smith stuff again. Perfect across 5 outs. And I thought Brian Anderson and Jeff Francoeur did a really good job of citing the 2 up-downs that he made. So he ended the 5th, clean 6th, and got up again and got the first out of the 7th. That was huge for Stephen Vogt. Then Heron worked around some trouble, some anxiety, and then Hunter Gaddis. Then Emmanuel Clase came on in the 8th after a Vierling double and an intentional walk to Riley Green from Gaddis. Wenzel Perez served a surefire single into left field, but Steven Kwan, front of the program, made a diving grab, picking it millimeters above the grass to save a scoreless game.
Quick question before we continue. Catch or no catch?
Yes, catch.
I agree. Catch.
So the term that is used in college football, and I'm sure NFL football too, when a play goes to replay review is indisputable video evidence. And the call on the field matters. If that was called a single and we went to video, I think that would stay a single. The call stood. The call was not confirmed. Stood means that there is no indisputable video evidence to overturn that. So knowing that definition of indisputable video evidence, that call should have been one that stands, and that call stood.
Isn't it crazy though, just like how close some of the biggest moments in
Close.
the biggest games can be separated by a few millimeters?
That's why we love this, man.
That's why
We
it's
love
life.
it. Honestly, it was millimeters. Like the thumb, the extension of his thumb, like dug just under the ball enough.
It was so close, I couldn't tell on slow-mo.
I couldn't tell.
They're giving me the answer to the test,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying I still don't know the answer.
No idea. But
They're saying the sky is blue. I'm looking up, and I'm like, is it blue?
Right.
I'm not sold on that.
And I love that call stood. I thought that was a way harder call than the Jazz Chisholm stolen base in game one of that series.
I
But
thought it was kind of the same thing. You don't think it was? I mean, it was indisputable evidence. Like, it was just, you couldn't
you
tell.
didn't have indisputable video evidence. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And at that point, like the call needs to stand on both of them. But
And
mention,
when it's pro what I want, I'm always going to go for the right call. I mean,
Quan
that's
Gem,
huge.
you're in.
Yeah. I'm a
Chisholm
narrative
stolen
guy.
base, you're in. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. So Quan made that diving grab to end the threat in the eighth, scoreless bottom of the eighth. Then you get to the ninth, and you have that clean inning from Class A. 2 quick outs. Torkelson Cade, Parker Meadows popped out. And Jake Rogers hit a single. And Trey Sweeney hit a single. And then Kerry Carpenter came up, who came on as a pinch hitter in AB prior because he didn't start the game because they went with the lefty and Matt Boyd. And then Stephen Vogt kept essentially curating the bullpen usage to fit so Kerry Carpenter could not get in the game. Like anybody that Carpenter could have been a candidate to hit for, it was like, yeah, time for Tim Herron. let's do this thing. But Carpenter saw a righty, and then he saw Class A in the ninth inning. And he ripped a 3-run home run with 2 outs in the ninth inning that provided the only scoring. Bo Brisky worked a 1-2-3 ninth for the save, and that was the game. I'm going to nugget dump on you right now. I'm just going to throw you a whole bunch of metric, things here. For Zach Meisel of The Athletic, that's the first 3-run home run Emmanuel Clase has ever allowed in the big leagues. Per Alex Fast, that ball was 110.8 off the bat of Kerry Carpenter. That is the hardest hit ball Emmanuel Clase has given up in his entire career. It was the first batted ball over 110 in Kerry Carpenter's MLB career. The 3 home runs against Emmanuel Clase this year. Jake Berger on June 9th, Andrew McCutchen on August 30th, and Kerry Carpenter on October 7th. I have a Skubal nugget as well. I'll save it. I want your thoughts on the Carpenter homer. It was just kind of big on big. And the Carpenter swing beat the Class A pitch. And damn, man, it doesn't happen often. It happened in a massive moment on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the pitch itself, that was not a classic Emmanuel Clase cutter or an Emmanuel Clase slider where he paints it. That's the reason he's only allowed 5 earned runs in the regular season. Now, Jack, I knew he had a 0.61, but I never did the math that I figured out. I figured out from a tweet of that home run that Emmanuel Clase has only given up 5 earned runs this year. But I really want to bring to the forefront because, there could be some people now listening to the podcast, right? I see in the YouTube comments, we're getting new listeners from the playoffs. We're just generally...
Yeah, nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, Kerry Carpenter, this is random. This ain't random. Comes to us from Addison. Yankee World runs our Twitter. Phenomenal follow on Twitter. I assume you are already because he's awesome. These are the only players that had a better OPS than Kerry Carpenter in 2024. Now, there's a minimum of 250 plate appearances because not only was he hurt, but he's also put in advantageous situations, right? He faces a lot of right-handed pitching, right? We don't see him against lefties in the playoffs. He's really a righty specialist. But still, 250 plate appearances. The only guys above him, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, Juan Soto, Bobby Witt Jr., Yordan Alvarez, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., that's it. Kerry Carpenter was that good this year. So I know that all Tigers fans weren't surprised to see him come up in the big moment. People have been watching the Tigers all year, weren't surprised to see him come up at the big moment. But I think the overall greater baseball field of fans might have thought to themselves, Kerry Carpenter's doing this?
So-
Damn right, Kerry Carpenter's doing this because he's a freaking beast.
I'm with you, damn right. I don't think that that's an indictment on Kerry Carpenter because Kerry Carpenter is that guy. Like we know that he's just been in Detroit and he's been in the American League Central, and there are fewer eyeballs on the American League Central and the Detroit Tigers than essentially like every other league in baseball.
It's more than fair to start learning about the Detroit Tigers. I mean, we've gone on about their story, August 11th, 0.2%, all this stuff. They sold at the deadline. They weren't supposed to be here. And now they get here. And even when you watch a Tigers game, the lineup in the first inning is not the lineup in the seventh inning. They have so many different relievers. It's Tarik Skubal in pitching chaos. Like, it's hard to even keep up with all the guys on the Tigers. So I don't blame any fan for thinking to themselves, I didn't know Kerry Carpenter was that guy. But he is that guy, and he's going to continue to be throughout the series.
I got a text from a good buddy of mine, and it was a photo of a ticket with Skubal's over 5.5 strikeouts. And the text was simply, Jack, is this guy a beast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the Tigers experience. If you're new to this and you're doing the NCAA basketball thing where you're like not really paying attention and then March Madness hits and it's like, oh, well, I want to fast track everything. Like, that's who this guy is. That's who Kerry Carpenter is. That's who Tarik Skubal is. And those guys both stepping up. Frankly, like my concern about the Tigers coming into this postseason is who was going to hit other than Kerry Carpenter. And the answer, frankly, right now is nobody. Like that was huge that Rogers and Sweeney strung together two out singles, but they're singles. I'm waiting for the big Riley Green hit. Is that going to come? I have no idea. I don't think so at this point. But if they're going to pitch like this, and this was my take on this series, like Detroit wins the Skubal start, and that might be it for them.
We'll see. They're going back to Comerica, and I'm still not counting out a Skubal Game 5 as well.
No,
and I don't think it's
fair.
I also don't think it's fair to say, well, none of the Tigers except Kerry Carpenter have been hitting this playoffs. Like, we can't forget that this team beat the Houston Astros. They still got the job done, right? In the biggest moment, the offense was able to show up. So, and that's kind of what this series, I think, is going to be about. Like, I think that 7-0 Game 1 win by the Guardians was an outlier. This is going to be a pitcher's duel throughout the rest of Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5, and it's going to be on each of the lineups to get a big hit in the big spot. And this game was decided by a Kerry Carpenter blast, and it was awesome.
It was awesome. This was, again, like you cannot ask for much more in a baseball game than what you got in this one. I know that some people would want the 8-6 slugfest, but this was my kind of game, and I loved it. The Skubal nugget that I had, Tarik Skubal in the postseason at this point, 2 starts, 13 innings, 7 hits, no runs, 14 Ks and 1 walk. If you want, the quantified numbers, 46 batters he's faced, a 0.62 whip, a 159 batting average against, and he's rocking a 72% strike rate. I think it's like 180 pitches across 2 starts, 129 of them for strikes. He's currently rocking a 24 1/3 innings consecutive scoreless streak, dating back to September 18th. Yeah, what more can we say? Like, Wheeler has established himself as the best postseason pitcher of this generation. Skubal hasn't had the opportunity. I essentially wanted to pose this question to you. When we sit down in February, when we sit down in March, and when we put together our own top 10 lists, and we sit down and do the top 20 starting pitchers, is Skubal an easy one? Is he the unanimous one going into next year, or is there dialogue about somebody else?
There's a lot of really good pitchers in this league.
I think so.
There's only a handful of elite pitchers in this league. And then there are 1 or 2 pitchers that are built in a lab. So if you were to build your perfect pitcher in a lab, you'd probably want him to be pretty big, right? He's got to be a workhorse. Yeah. 6'3", 240 pounds. That sounds about right for a my player in terms of a pitcher. You probably want them to be left-handed. It's a little bit more rare. A lot of the best hitters in baseball that we all know are left-handed. You probably want him to throw high 90s, right? Gas. You'd want him to have a really good breaking ball, but you'd also want him to have a changeup, and you'd probably want him to have some sort of curveball for a differentiator of speed. You'd want pinpoint command. You'd want a 30% strikeout rate, and you'd want him to really keep the ball on the ground. There's one pitcher like that.
Yeah.
Tarik Skubal. High ground ball rate, 30% strikeout rate, 4% walk rate, size. I can't get over how good the command is. Like those balls that he's throwing, where it's like ball one, ball two.
So close.
They could be strikes depending on the umpire.
He is the king of the 3-pitch punch out. He led Major League Baseball in 3-pitch strikeouts by a country mile this year.
I tweeted out that Skubal has the fastest innings you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Like if you can't go to the bathroom during one of his half innings, because it's over so quickly.
We were in the fifth. We were in the fifth when I blinked.
You're either striking out on 3 pitches, or he might just give you a sinker and you're just going to ground out. That's like the other thing about Skubal. Like some pitchers have heavy strikeout stuff, but maybe they don't have great command. Maybe they have great command and great strikeout stuff, but they might struggle a little bit with hard contact, right? Dead zoney fastballs can get hit. There is nothing here. And on top of it, you'd probably want that pitcher that's built in the lab to have some built-in deception to it too. He's got everything, Jack. Everything that you'd want from a pitcher. From the size to the athleticism to the age right now, to the fastball, to the breaking balls, to soft contact, to keeping the ball on the ground, to strikeout stuff, not walking anybody. He is the pitching cyborg. He's like General Grievous with all his different lightsabers. I almost tweeted out like Tarik Skubal's parents is like a horse and General Grievous.
Do you see
like a rhinoceros and Darth Maul?
Do you see his mom commented on a pitching ninja tweet about like Skubal being fired up, and he said something with the F word and
Tarik Daniel.
Tarik Daniel. That's
I love that.
so funny. Like mom scolding him on Twitter. I'm with you, and based on what you just gave me, I think the answer is yes. He's the clear-cut number one going into next year. Yeah. I can't find an argument to that because Cole missed 2 months this year, and Sale is 36.
We could just say Skubal's better right now. Like we don't have to give any context. Skubal's objectively better than everybody right now. Wheeler is a wizard in the Wheeler is just. It's hard to knock Wheeler off the mantle because he's throwing 7 shutty in the playoffs. He's coming off 200 innings. He's coming off of like a 2.7 ERA too. Like, and he's been doing it for so much longer. But in terms of right now, laser beam pointed at Earth.
Yeah.
Who do you want on the mound? And I'm the biggest Wheeler enjoyer that's not a Phillies fan maybe in the world. I mean, I'm consistently talking about Peter, shut up and watch Tarik Skubal.
Yeah. So that's my thought too. And going into next year, like I'm thinking about my Mount Rushmore, and I don't know if Sale makes it in 2025, as weird as that sounds, just because, age is there, age is present. I think if I had to like order it right now, and this could change by the time we do our top 10s in the spring, but like gun to my head right now, it's Skubal 1, Skeens 2, Wheeler 3, Cole 4.
Strider.
Yeah, but Strider's coming off injury, so I have no problem putting Strider at 5.
I have no problem either, but I forgot about Skeens.
And it's hard. It's hard for me to push Cole back to 4, but I think I have to at this point.
And I don't want to get on a tangent, but imagine Skeens in the playoffs.
Right. Like I mean, we could be just saying this.
Yeah, but
it would be copy paste. It's like, you remember when we talked about the pitching cyborg thing? It's like, wouldn't you prefer if he was 6'6", 250 and threw 102?
Be like, oh yeah, right. That's a good one. Yeah,
you make a nice point, and like just developed a splinker out of nowhere. Like
recency bias is a real thing.
It's totally a real thing. But yeah, I think it's a conversation. I think with what Skubal did at the end of last year and the entirety of 24. he gets the edge at 1, but Skeens is right there, and then I think Wheeler 3 and Cole 4. But
we're spoiled right now.
We're so
I mean,
spoiled.
even with all the injuries to all
Yeah.
these guys, like Sandy's going to come back.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember
Yuri
Sandy?
Perez? Do you remember how good Yuri Perez was?
Well, yeah. I mean, we could continue to go down the line, but Sandy's coming off of Cy Young 2 years ago.
My guy, Shane McClanahan is coming back next year.
Oh,
we're spoiled.
Clark Schmidt pitching game 3. What are you laughing about?
Let's go to that series. Series.
Fine. Royals, Yankees, first inning. I was so fired up. Oh, Rodon showed energy early on that strikeout on Maikel Garcia when he froze him. And I wrote down, hopefully it propels him instead of biting him in the ass. Then he strikes out Bobby Witt Jr. Then he strikes out Vinny. I'm sold. Rodon, this is the guy we paid for. This is Carlos Rodon. And then the Yankees start their first half of the inning. 2 walks from the Yankees. Soto does a little extra stare to Cole Reagans. I'm fired up. Then Judge strikes out. Then Wells strikes out. And then he saws off Stanton running 1 mile an hour to first base. The first scoring came in the bottom of the third. Giancarlo Stanton smacks a ball at Bobby Witt Jr., ate him up, scores Glaber on a wide throw from Bobby. And I'm thinking to myself, if we're getting a bad play from Bobby, this game is ours. Bobby Witt Jr. has to be perfect over there. Cole Reagans is at 70 pitches through 3 innings. Oh, we're going to roll. Top of the 4th inning. Salvador Perez goes, see ya. 4th career home run against Rodon. He went into the night against Rodon 12 for 26. I said he was going to be a problem, and nice job, Peter. You were right. God, I hate this. Yuli Gurriel single, then got to second on a wild pitch, but we didn't see it because they thought it would be a good idea to air an interview with Boone during it. Pham RBI single to take a 2-1 lead. Garrett Hampson then singles to left for another RBI. Rodon just loses command of the fastball entirely, left the game after going 3 2/3, 7 hits, 4 earned, 7 strikeouts. Glad we're paying you. Michael Garcia then singles off Ian Hamilton to score the 4th run, then was caught in a rundown. Then the game was basically over. I mean, Reagans did exit after 4 innings. He went 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 4 walks. Command got away from him there.
Pitch count was high.
5 strikeouts at 87 pitches. Do you think it was the right move for the Royals to take him out there?
I wish they gave him the 5th.
Me too, but I understood it because the command was really getting away.
Yeah, it didn't burn him.
Yeah, no, they were fine. And then bottom 9 against Lucas Erceg. I still am holding out hope. I've seen the Mets magic. I've seen so much magic. We just finished Guardians Tigers. Just saw Kerry Carpenter hit that home run. What about a little magic of our own? And Jazz Chisholm leads off with a home run. And I'm thinking to myself, we're going to do it. This is the fight. Anthony Volpe ground out. Alex Verdugo ground out. John Birdie base hit. Gleyber Torres ground out. Yankees lose 4-1. Season's not over. Season's not over, Jack. What's your stupid takeaway?
Yeah, my takeaway is certainly stupid. It is it is a question for you. Where are you pointing a finger? Rodon?
Judge. I mean, no, that's an overreaction. I'm not pointing the finger at Judge. Judge is the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Judge is the most productive hitter I have seen in my entire life. Now I'm 26 years old. I wasn't alive enough.
By WRC plus, his year was there with Honus Wagner.
Yeah, yes. People, yeah, okay. So we know this. So if he's not having a first couple of good games, like, it's okay. But he's hitting 130 since the 2019 playoffs and over like 77 at bats.
Yeah.
He has the highest strikeout rate in postseason history. And every single time, cuts to commercial, I go to Twitter, some moron posted it. Including our own company. Whatever idiots
you want to call a moron?
Account.
Come on, name him.
Everyone who runs our social media, everyone on social media, all idiots. Like, we all saw the stat. You didn't have to all post it.
No, on the contrary, everybody needed to post it because you know it's going to do sick numbies.
I don't want those numbies.
Yeah, you do. You want the numbies with everything else.
Not that. I can choose what I want, and I don't want that. No, I mean, yeah, no, Judge is fine. He'll be fine. Soto going over doesn't help, but Heck, if I'm ever going to go after that man. I mean, that's one bad game. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
I love him. No, I mean, yeah, you can point at Rodon because the Royals, in the month of September against lefties, they had a 20 WRC plus.
Really?
Worst in baseball.
That's crazy.
They were fine against Rodon.
20 is also just a funny number. It's if you told me that a guy's WRC plus was 20, I'm going to laugh.
80% below league average, and they got Rodon out before the fourth. So, yeah, Rodon's the issue here. Okay. And the thing is, I got tons of group chats and tons of Yankee fans, and I'm taking my rounds after the first inning. I'm like, this is the Rodon we paid for. If Rodon is this good, the Yankees are going to win the World Series because Cole's going to bounce back. The one slight area of concern, who's going to go after him, right? You have Schmidt, you have Heel, not a lot of proven stuff, but I mean, Rodon is the man. You paid Rodon a big time contract to come here and win games like this. He sucked. He sucked, and he's kind of stunk all year. He hasn't stunk. I'm overreacting, but we're recording right after the game. But since he's come over, he just hasn't been the guy who I thought. And I love that signing when it happened. I talked about it on the show, and I've just been wrong so far. And the first time he gets so hyped after those strikeouts and then just shits the bed. And it did seem like, I texted this in the group chat, maybe I was overthinking it. The Royals were putting swings on him as if they knew what was coming. I don't know if he was tipping pitches.
I don't even think it's a tipping. I don't think it's a tipping thing. I think it's a predictability thing.
Yeah, that's the reason I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
Whether it was tipping, whether it was the way he was pitching was so predictable, they were putting up swings that made it seem as if they knew it was coming. And that cannot happen, especially when you lose command of the fastball like that. So you can't put anything in the zone. Then you got to give them cookies, and then they tee off on you, and we lose. That can't be your number two.
Yeah, he shows these flashes of just dominance, and he's built like an outside linebacker. It is crazy, his build and all of that. But at the end of the day, he is a very predictable pitcher, and he has been since he was at NC State. I remember him at NC State. He was a 2-pitch pitcher. It was 4-seam slider. The 4-seam looked like a middle linebacker was throwing a fastball, and the slider was one of the best pitches in the draft. The White Sox took him. I was fired up. And guess what we saw in Chicago? We saw predictability. We also saw a guy that got hurt a lot and a guy that would taper off because he wasn't right physically. The Yankees paid a guy $60 million that put together one complete season of dominance. And I made that very clear to you. And I hope I made that very clear to everybody listening.
Yeah, I was wrong.
But not really, because he's so awesome when it's right.
Jack, I swear to God, I loved him.
I know. I get it. That Giants year was amazing. It was amazing. But at the end of the day, dude, this year, he was 49% 4-seam, 26% slider. Last year, 60% 4-seam, 30% slider. 22.
Hey, he worked on a changeup. He worked on a changeup. Okay. It worked really well today.
Yeah, he threw it 13% of the time this year. 22, 60% 4-seam, 30% slider. 21, 59% 4-seam, 27% slider. It's 90% of his pitches. You know what's coming, and it's not Strider level.
I hate the way the Yankees make me feel.
Yeah.
God,
I can't help you with that. I think you might need to pay somebody a lot of money for an hour session.
They have me in such a freaking emotional tailspin that I can't even look at them objectively. I just freak out as a fan. It's a disaster. It's I'm such an emotional little bitch that I'm watching that game being the season is over. I'm such an idiot. I bet on baseball every day. I've watched, and I'm other fans of teams, I have friends who are Guardians fans, Tigers fans, text me, "Oh, it's over." No, it's not. You're going to come back. Me, it's over. I don't take my own advice. So to answer your question, Rodon is to blame.
Yeah, I get it. I thought it was funny. So I love listening to Ryan Russillo, and Russillo did an opening monologue on baseball, and he never talks baseball. I was I'm going to listen to this. And at the end, he said something that really resonated, where he was yeah. And he started naming, individual outcomes in his childhood of loving the Boston Red Sox. And he remembers how vivid, like, those are still etched in his mind from the 80s, from the 90s. And he said, it feels like the end of the world, but we'll see you in Arizona. Like, that's the reminder. It's like, don't forget, in 4.5, 5 months, these guys are going to be in Tampa at camp, and we're going to do the whole damn thing over again.
I don't want to think about that. Yeah, I mean, sure, that's the
But that's
objective,
the beauty of
smart
baseball.
way to
That's
think
the
of.
beauty of
But
baseball.
yeah, but I don't want to think about that. We're in the
I get it.
playoffs.
I
I
get
don't
it.
want to think about, well, it's all going to be okay because we're
Listen,
all going to do it over
Listen,
again.
you're asking me to do something that, again, you should be paying somebody an hourly rate for. That's like way too much money, and you go sit in a chair every week.
No, I don't need that. I need the Yankees to win.
Okay.
I need the Yankees to just win or not look like shit.
Yeah.
Close game, lose on the final. All right, we'll get not that.
Yeah.
Laying down.
I thought this was a really constructive conversation. This was great about the Yankees.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Let's hype up the Royals.
Yeah.
I mean, great game by the Royals. The bullpen. I mean, after Reagan's came out, right? The Yankees lost 4-1. Reagan's allowed 1 run in 4 innings. That bullpen was fantastic.
Yeah.
Adding Bubic back there is big because he's been out for a while, and he was supposed to be like a big time piece of this rotation. I remember hyping him up at the very beginning of the year, right? Pitchers to watch out for. Loved Bubic. Been banged up all year. Comes back, looks great in that role. John Schreiber, Zerpa, and then, of course, Urseg is just a freaking monster. I know he gave up that home run to Jazz, but when you got a 3-run lead, you're throwing strikes, and that guy, he just clipped one into the short porch. Like, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
You tip your cap, but the Royals bullpen has been wildly impressive in the second half. And I still, I give them so much credit because they lost the big fish in Hunter Harvey. Like, I know Lucas Urseg, but at the time, Hunter Harvey was the guy you gave up more for. And you've been without him. And so many guys have plugged in and just done such a good job. Salvi obviously can still hit jacks.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt's a superstar. Vinny's a stud. Michael Garcia goes 4 for 5. Garrett Hampson 2 for 2. Just a really sound game by the Royals, right? The one mistake was by Bobby Witt Jr. on that Giancarlo Stanton. I thought a play like that, Stanton must have hit it 115. No, he hit it 96. That's a play Bobby Witt Jr. makes 99 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Royals fans know, and I've watched enough Bobby Witt Jr. to know that that's a play that he makes.
No, it just jumped on him weird. Yeah.
Exactly. Just bad hop jumped on him weird. So, and that was their only mistake. Yeah. They played a really, really good baseball game. So shout out the Royals, but I can still be unhappy about it.
Yeah. Shout out Kansas City. I wonder how it's all going to go when you do get back to KC, because I thought Reagan's was the most advantageous matchup you had. And now...
yeah, but at the same time, though, they hit Garrett Cole.
They did.
What's to say they can't hit Schmidt? I'm sure the Yankees are going to do fine offensively against Lugo. And then it's probably going to
be Heel and
Singer?
Waka, or Heel and Singer.
Did they go to Singer? Regardless, I'm sure the Yankees, they're the best team in baseball against right-handed pitching. They struggle a little bit against lefties. They faced some righties, though, in that pen, and they didn't hit them either. But it was a lot of lefties in the pen that have quieted the Yankees' bats. This Royals bullpen with all those lefties is going to hurt the Yankees. The Yankees have to jump on these starters. Yeah. And the Royals starters have been good all year, so why the hell do I think they're going to do that?
And a reminder that every pitcher in the postseason is good. You don't get to the postseason without good pitching. So they're
all fired up. They all have extra adrenaline added on top of their already good stuff that
it
got
is a
them
pitcher's
here.
Month. October is a pitcher's month. There is zero doubt about that.
It's about getting big hits. And that's why when you ask me, who do I point the finger at? My first instinct said Judge, even though that's not the case. Because Judge has to provide the big hit. Has to. Right? Soto has a ring.
Yeah, but he can also still provide the big hit.
Yeah, of course he can, but I'm saying there's a lot of pressure on Judge. He's 10 for or I guess he got that base hit. Nice, Judge. You got the first hit of the series.
Yeah, that was great.
But Stanton is clearly just a shell at this point. I mean, the guy cannot.
I also thought it was funny that the telecast, every time he was kind of jogging towards first base, we were reminded that is an advisory for him. It's It's like, oh, to stay on the field, you should jog.
Costas just being like, nobody can get mad at him. It's just hard to watch Stanton, run the bases too, because if he hits the ball on the ground and there's runners on base, it's just an automatic double play. And we saw that in the game. But no, the Yankees are still very good. They still have a good bullpen. They showed it again in this game, right? After Rodon exited, Royals didn't score again. Yankees bullpen is very good. They still got big time bats. Obviously, they're still in the driver's seat in this series. I know it's going back to Kansas City, but Royals fans know this. They're much more talented. Now, with that said, most talented team doesn't win every time. Definitely not, especially in baseball. Have you ever watched this sport?
Hot team
so
wins.
So hypothetically speaking, for all those watching on YouTube, I'm using in quotes, like they're in the driver's seat. Doesn't feel good. Right? We're going to Kansas City. What was the whole thing about Kansas City? They can't win on the road. They're so good at home. We're about to go face them at home. So I'm not feeling awesome. And then if we get to a game 5, who's going game 5? Probably Cole. They already hit Garrett Cole. I don't feel good. I feel, my skin's crawling. I don't feel good.
I get it. I also just got the push notification from Major League Baseball, from MLB at Bat. This postseason has been tight. Both ALDS and both NLDSs are tied 1-1. How often has that happened? Try never. This is the first time that all 4 divisional series have been tied at a game apiece.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Love this. So why don't we talk about the NLDS that is coming up today? We will start with the Phillies and the New York Mets. This one today is going to be Nola and Manaea. This one gets going at 5:08 in New York. Manaea this year had a 3.47 ERA. Nola had a 3.57. Manaea's felt a lot better than Nola's for some reason, but I think that's because of the standard that we hold Manaea to and the standard that Manaea exceeded. The standard that we hold Nola to. Did I say that right? I think I said that right. It's late. And the standard that Manaea exceeded. But I think this is going to be a game of big swings. And I could see the right-handed hitters for Philly getting just enough good swings off here.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like you go over to Baseball Savant, you click on probable pitchers, and you look at the daily matchups. Aaron Nola, 265 plate appearances against this Mets current roster. And the numbers look great. Sean Manaea, 104 plate appearances against this current Phillies roster. Numbers are terrible. But the thing is, I've personally watched Aaron Nola had some tough starts against the Mets this year. Now, last year, back in May, he gave up 4. This year, in New York, was dominant, didn't give up a run. But then in Philly on September 13th, so the last time that Nola faced the Mets, he gave up 6 earned. Then on the other side, I'm going to Manaea right now. He's faced the Phillies twice this year, actually 3 times this year. The first time he only gave up a run. Second time he gave up 6. That was at home. Next time he gave up 3. So it's also hard to get a gauge of what these 2 starting pitchers are going to give you. Because Nola has the postseason pedigree. Right? He's got a 3.70 career ERA and a 3.70 postseason ERA. He's the same guys. Blood pressure, beats per minute, it's all the same. Manaea looked pretty good against the Brewers. Now doesn't have a ton of postseason success, right? Not to the level of Nola, but Manaea has been on a roll lately. So this game, I think, is a complete toss-up.
So I strongly dislike the Philly bullpen right now, and we were texting about that. I strongly dislike where they are at right now, but I hate where the Mets bullpen is at right now.
That's, again, it's just you're throwing more toss-ups into there, like making this game even more of a toss-up, and that's why it's going to be so sick. You're so right? If you're a Mets fan, do you trust your bullpen right now?
I would not.
If you're a Phillies fan, do you trust your bullpen right now?
I would not. I would trust them, I think, 1% more than Mets fans should trust their bullpen, but dude, it's tight.
There's a part of me that wishes the Yankees weren't even in the playoffs like last year, so I could just look and evaluate both teams and not feel like emotionally like a little freaking wuss. Just like look into the numbers and be like, oh, Phillies, Mets, both of you guys can do it. Instead of me on the other side, be like, fuck. pissed at myself. No, this is gonna be a game.
This is
Gonna
going to
be a game. You know, on BetMGM, right? It's -110 across the board. I mean, these two
really.
teams, we'll see what happens.
What do you think the deciding factor is? So I think it's Phillies right-handed bats clipping Manaea early.
The Mets got Harper hot,
Okay.
and I don't give a fuck if it's a lefty or a righty.
Yeah.
And he doesn't either. So we're talking about the righties, and that's common. Like, it's common sense. Not to say that's something easy to say, but I totally understand where you're coming from. Like, the righties for the Phillies, right? Especially with Alec Boehm, right? Not getting that start and has been objectively struggling mightily going into this.
Yeah.
Like, not having his bat in there, or at least not having a hot Alec Boehm, is definitely a problem. But I'm looking for a guy like Trey Turner to step up here, get a big time hit.
Right.
But then I also think that Bryce Harper is going to get a big time hit. But the thing is, the Mets have an MVP candidate. Like, the Mets have their version of Bryce Harper. I mean, Lindor is so special because not only does he start every single rally for the Mets, he can also hit the big time home run, and he can grab momentum on defense with a big time play. Like, Harper at first base making a diving catch, like, that's not going to hit as hard in the dugout as like Lindor making an insane play like he seems to do every other inning. So I think it's really going to be about who grabs momentum first and just kind of rides that till the end.
Well, and to add to your point, one swing probably got Harper going, but Alonso and Vientos both have multiple swings already under their belt.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up too, because Pete Alonso rakes against Aaron Nola.
Does he?
320. He's got 5 home runs against Nola, 3 doubles, hits for a lot of power. Who else just crushes Nola?
Buddy?
Jose Iglesias has had a lot of success so far. 4 for 9.
Candelita.
Vientos is only 1 for 3. Marte. Yeah, these guys, they see him well. Like, this should be a high scoring game.
Yeah, that feels like what every NLDS game is going to be on both sides.
These are the 2 perfect series.
Mets
Phillies on one side, Dodgers Padres on the other. Bitter rivals, really good teams. The National League side of the bracket is, I think, exactly how we draw it up if we had our pick of the litter.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
Maybe Atlanta instead.
No, but Atlanta had clear-cut deficiencies this year. I think, if we were to quote-unquote perfectly draw it up, the Mets wouldn't have been there because the Mets are like the hot team now. But
I'm not talking about the 4 best teams. I'm talking about
what provides the best
numbies,
theater.
Right? You obviously care about posting the Aaron Judge stat because all you care about is numbers.
Yeah, fair.
Isn't this, like, for content purposes, for baseball fan enjoyment, for rivalries, for numbers, like this? I think these are the 4 teams that you'd want in the division series.
In 2024, yes, I would say the Cardinals have a really big brand. It would be nice if the Cardinals were there, but the Cardinals don't have the vibe that these 4 teams do. So,
Rockies.
This is probably exactly how you would draw it up. So, I hear you on that front entirely. Let's talk about that Dodgers Padres series to wrap, because it goes back to San Diego now. And game 3 tonight is Buehler against Michael King in San Diego. King is coming off that 12K outing in the wild card series against Atlanta. He sliced and diced at that ballpark against an inferior lineup in the Atlanta Braves. Now he's got to deal with Ohtani and Betts, and we'll see what the lineup card says. I have no idea if Freddie Freeman is going to be on that thing today. No clue. This is a much larger test, a much harder test for Michael King. But, time to level up, dude. And I have a lot of confidence that he can level up and do this.
Okay, so sorry to all those who listening, because I wasn't on the previous show, so I wasn't able to talk about post-Dodgers Padres.
Yeah.
So let me just give my quick 2 cents, and I'll weave that into somewhat of a prediction.
Fair.
I'm not sure which side to buy into, and let me explain. On the one side, the Dodger fan throwing the ball at Profar can be taken as this. you just woke up a beast in the Padres. Because obviously they're already motivated to beat their division rival to continue to go, obviously. But that provides another level of edge that's impossible to quantify and definitely matters. When they go back to San Diego, there's a part of me that says Dodgers don't return home from Game 5. Padres use that momentum as fuel behind their fans now at Petco and dismantle the Dodgers. The other side, Padres got a little fat and happy after that. Dodgers felt embarrassed, right? Do they then use that? Padres are smiling, right? With Rodon, he's getting fired up after the first inning. There was a lot of that with San Diego, especially at the end there. Do the Dodgers capitalize on that? On the feeling really good that we now own this series? I don't know. I don't know how both teams are going to respond here, but I could see two sides of the coin. And so what brings me into this is, in terms of a matchup, Michael King has 3 starts against the Dodgers this year. 1 was not very good at all, and 2 were shutout type outings. Buehler, I know he hasn't had a great year because, of course, he's been dealing with injuries and it hasn't looked quite like the butane, right? He's flashed it, right? We've seen it in spurts, but he hasn't fully developed that over a while. But he has really good numbers against the Padres. And Dave Roberts put him in this big spot.
With some strong dislike there.
Absolutely, he does. That matters. Yeah. So the Dodgers have had success against King before, but King is also on a heater. Walker Buehler has dominated the Padres in the past. Which side of the coin does it land on?
Right.
After hearing both of those, do you buy one over the other? Do you think they're both irrelevant for Game 3? That's just been the sticking point in my head.
No, I think they're both entirely relevant. And playoffs are so about just the hot hand. I think it's all dependent on the hot hand. And I feel
that's why I wanted to bring it up. Like, who has it?
I think King has the hot hand.
Oh, you're talking about a play. I'm just talking about the whole team's vibe. Because King
I think San Diego has the hot hand. Like, that game 2 was everything in terms of energy.
So yeah, I thought so too. But I also know that the Dodgers have Shohei Ohtani on their
team. Yeah. And Ohtani can totally keep them in this game. And I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I don't think it's going to be anything close to a bludgeoning that we saw in Game 2. But in terms of just raw energy, I think the Padres are in a way better spot than the Dodgers are right now. And they need to rely on their $700 million DH. The Padres, it's like, who's going to do it today? David Peralta, you going to go dead center again? Like, I think 1 through 9 can do something. And they're sending a guy that just K'd 12 Atlanta Braves in his postseason debut.
He looked. We talk about recency bias.
Unbelievable. Like, he looked
unbelievable.
Skubal has put together Wheeler put together the best postseason start that we have seen. And then it was Skubal yesterday. No, we're not doing the Skeens thing. He hasn't thrown this month.
What do you think about Skeens and Jared Jones together?
Wheeler got 30 whiffs. He will hold the top spot in terms of best playoff start to this point. Skubal is right under that with what he did yesterday. And I think directly underneath that is Michael King.
This has all happened in like a week.
In a week.
This is awesome.
In a week. We are getting excellent baseball right now. And I'm fired up for it. And I cannot wait for the baseball today. I love what's happening in the American League right now. It does not come close to what's happening in the National League right now.
No. I mean, the National League, they're like 2 mini World Series.
Yes.
And I think that the 2 best teams in baseball are the Dodgers and the Padres. You could make an argument that 3 and 4 right now is the Phillies and the Mets.
Probably.
You could. I'm not saying.
You definitely could.
Definitely could.
I think Cleveland, dude, I mean, that bullpen looks diabolical. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet you a lot of money that Clase, that doesn't happen to him again this month.
I don't know. He might be washed.
He might be.
Give up 3 runs after giving up
the 30 for 30.
5.
What if I told you
Yeah.
that one swing ended Emmanuel Clase's vibe
I
forever.
still can't believe he only gave up 5 earned runs this year. Like, I
Yeah.
still cannot believe that. That's one of the wildest stats of the year. He only gave up 5.
And the
5.
fact that that came off 111, like hardest hit ball ever against Clase, hardest hit ball ever by Kerry Carpenter.
All right, pick a winner game 3. Both
Uh,
sides.
San Diego in a tight one and a low scoring one, like 3-2 San Diego.
I want to back Bueller. Give me the Dodgers in game
Fair.
3. Yeah.
I love it.
Give me the Dodgers in game 3. I think he's going to shove.
I think they're both going to shove. I think this might be some bullpen runs.
Yeah, I'll take Bueller in game 3. And then Phillies Mets, because I have to bet this game because I don't bet any start with Bueller.
I have to. Yeah.
I have to. I can't figure out what to do yet. I'll have it in the morning, but
you said it's a toss up. Like I lean Phillies because of the ability to just clip enough.
I kind of want to take out the bullpens entirely. Like I'm looking at a first 5 wager. I'm thinking Phillies first 5 right now. Like I'm in my brain, like, who do I trust more in this spot? The guy who's done it over and over and over and
On the
over
road.
again and over a longer sample, has a better track record against the Mets than Sean Manaea does. Nola's also best start against the Mets came at Citi Field, so it's not like he needs Citizens Bank Park or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I really respect Manaea, but there's a lot of Phillies bats that are really good. And I think that's where I'm leaning right now. But again, I'm just because I pick Phillies first 5 does not mean I think they're actually going to win the entire game. Because I said it in their struggles. Like, we kind of made fun of them, but I've told, like, I don't trust this Phillies bullpen.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. So, yeah. You know what? Phillies first 5, Mets full game.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
That's my prediction. Nola does out to Manaea. More Mets magic in the 9th.
Oh, man. That would be
that?
awesome. And that would make for a hell of a Tuesday.
Hell of a Tuesday. So if everybody enjoyed this episode, the best way to support is to subscribe on YouTube, hit that like button, but also rate and reviews 5 stars. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to get your Just Baseball merch. That is in the episode description. Hopefully people enjoyed my pain. I know Jack McMullen did. So for Jack, for me, Peter, hope you enjoyed it, you pieces of shit. I'll see you tomorrow. With that, thank you, everybody.